fruit. He waited. She had not expected his return, all too familiar after 2 years of marriage of his comings and goings. Without hesitancy, she opened the unlatched door, wrapped in thought of her afternoon with Nunzio, whose deep, chestnut eyes, with their hint of amber, held her. His full lips capturing her breath, the fullness of his dark brown hair combed back with varying strands escaping their manicure and lingering on his forehead and brow. Talking possibilities, he held her, and she so wanted to be held. She paid no attention to the otherwise latched door, which she had closed and secured before she ventured out to her apple tree, high above the village. She hadn't been prepared as she had been in the past. He grabbed and twisted her arm in one quick jerk, threw her to the floor. The tiles hard beneath her, she felt their coolness. Then it was gone.
"Bitch! You fucking bitch! Where have you been?"
he sputtered in his frenzied assault as the branch came down upon her, again and again, and again and again as he sputtered,
"Bitch! Whore! You fucking whore! Is this what you think you can do? Where have you been?"
Continuing his assault, each stroke landing on her back, upon her legs, and where that all-familiar branch landed, the welts she had known all too well began to rise. She lay there, upon the floor as he walked toward the table, plopped down, throwing the branch down next to where she lay, grabbed hold of his wine jug, and began to guzzle while streams of red juice trickled down the sides of his mouth.
"Bitch!"
he said, once again, reaching down deep in his throat. He forcibly let go of a glob of spit toward where she lay motionless, quiet. It barely missed her. Once again, he turned to his wine.
"Go to bed."
Mariella inched her knees to her chest and began easing her body up, bracing it with palms on the floor.
"Crawl, bitch, crawl. Leave that door open. You hear me, bitch?"
he bellowed. She did. Like a wounded animal, she crawled to the bedroom, listening to his jeering and perverse laughter, filtering, piercing her soul. And as she reached the bed, the pain of those welts took her breath.
"What now?"
she thought.
"What now?"
She inched her body to the bed, grabbing hold of the coverlet which slid between her fingers. Still she managed, somehow, to crawl onto the bed, stomach down, and muffled the sobs that followed. She felt the slow ooze on her back and dared not move, the terror overtaking her as it led her to sleep. Suddenly awakened, she felt his hot breath with its mustiness upon her. Cringing, the agony brought forth by the lashes reminding her of probabilities. He tore at her in one brutal sweep, her dress tossed to the side, as he pushed her face into the hay-filled mattress, which she had come to know intimately. Hay that had been washed, dried, washed again, lashed upon the stones of the nearby river, dried and stuffed in this mattress, her mattress. It was this mattress that held her life, her memories, her nightmares. He pulled at her underpants and tossed them aside, letting them hit the dried cement and clay walls just over the bed, still pushing her head down into the mattress. She knew the horror that would follow all too well. He would penetrate her, pummel himself into her, her face imprinted into the mattress. She muffled her whimpers of pain as he continued over and over again, digging into her rectum. His assaults had become more forceful, torturous over the last 2 years. She had not been prepared as she recalled the intimate details of marriage and marital obligations her mother had advised her of years before. They had never come. On their wedding night, Mariella recalled, she had anticipated gentleness and passion, as her mother had told her, and as she disrobed, after their celebration, which was preceded by a parade to the church accompanied by relatives, friends, and the local villagers, and upon the exchange of vows, the same entourage paraded in the village square, where chairs stood in wait for the guests. Racks of lamb and local vegetables were the fare, followed by the dispensing of a handful of sugar-coated almonds. She awkwardly removed her dress as he approached her. Her satin slip with its spaghetti straps hung on her shoulders, and she stood, silently, apprehensively awaiting what her mother had told her would follow. He came to her, removed her slip, undid her bra, and pulled down her panties. She stood naked before him, waiting for a gentle touch, a soft kiss, a warm embrace, a lingering caress of his fingers, none of which happened. He took her to the bed, their wedding bed, whose mattress had been covered with a white sheet over which lay a white fabric to catch her virginity, lowered her upon it, then straddled her. His legs, one on either side of her, he dangled slightly above her and stared into her eyes. His deep black orbs, much like that of a giant viper, dug into her. His brows full, his hair in a haphazard array on his head, was dark and greasy. Still, he stared at her. A look she had never acknowledged before arose from somewhere other than this earth. Suddenly, he, angling himself to one side, resting the weight of his body on one leg, pulled at her, tossed her onto her stomach, and began his assault. She heard what she thought was a slurp, followed by another. Then it came. The warm stickiness surrounded her anus, then, just as he would do in subsequent years, pushed her head down into the mattress and took her. She felt the entry, the tearing, the flow of liquids trickling down and onto the white square beneath her. She screamed, silent screams into the pillow until he, finally spent, rolled off her, turned over away from her, and fell asleep. Her virginity, or so many would be satisfied to discover the following day, would be displayed as he tore at the square beneath her, the caked traces of blood and semen evidence for all to see. He had married a virgin. Her mother, who had died alone, her only daughter married to a man of means. Her mother was gone. Her mother who nurtured her cuts and bruises as a child. Her mother who whispered words of dreams as she tucked her into bed. Her mother was gone.
Your mother's dead. I'm not paying some greedy miscreant to take you to her. She's dead. You being there isn't bringing her back. She's dead.
So, she held on to the memories of her mother and her gentle way, never knowing the monster Mariella had married, was obligated to serve as he commanded. 2 years, she thought. 2 years. An eternity. She found no comfort, deviant even in his sleep, as she heard his snores. The lashing as she entered the door, reminding her of pain greater than any lashing she had endured at his hands previously. Hands calloused, fingernails embedded with dirt, the reek of too much wine and the stench of sweat was all she knew, all she had become accustomed to for 2 years. She rose on cat's paws and made her way to the kitchen. As she had done so often before, she wet the cloth that always hung on the hook next to the sink and maneuvered it to her back. She rubbed it gently against her skin, back and forth once again, cringing, biting her lips to stifle her agony. Once this had been done, she reached into one of the cupboards and grabbed hold of the salve that she often used after lashings. She rubbed the ointment on the cloth in dabs here and there, and once again maneuvered it along her back. Hesitantly, she approached the bedroom door, Paolo still snoring, fast asleep. She climbed in, resting on her side, waiting for the nightmares to end.